Welcome everybody to Two Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. Today we've got Brandon Johnston. How you doing, Brandon?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me on, Don.
Hey, no problem, man. Brandon is a former Marine. I know they get real finicky if you say ex-Marine, so we'll say former Marine. And now, are you a full-time stand-up comedian, or are you just
I'm trying to be.
okay?
It's
Yep.
really difficult to be a full-time stand-up comedian, but I'm going to correct you one more time. There's no longer former Marines.
Oh,
Once a
okay.
Marine, always a Marine. Yeah.
Okay. Man, I think the Marine branch is about the most finicky about that. Us Army guys, we don't care.
Well, that's part of the difference, though. But that's why we get along so well. So,
Yeah, I agree. I agree, man. So, when did you come in the military? And tell me a little bit about yourself and how you came about.
okay. Well, excuse me. I was in high school when 9/11 happened. I grew up in a very poor area. I grew up in the smallest town in South Carolina. So I always knew that military was kind of going to be where I was going to end up.
Okay.
I may be the only Marine that has I almost joined the Navy story. I know everybody has a I almost joined the Marine story.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I was in high school, 9/11. I watched the planes hit the towers. I watched the plane hit the Pentagon, and that kind of solidified it for me. And
Okay.
I called my recruiter that morning. Was like, hey, what do I need to do? Unfortunately, I didn't graduate till 2003, but as soon as I graduated, sent me to Paris Island, and next thing I knew, I was in Iraq. So
Yeah. It won't. From that point forward, man, it didn't take long.
no,
That's
oh
for
no,
sure.
yeah,
I remember. So I was in the army when 9/11 happened, and I don't know, it's probably 2 3 months afterwards. We had our regimental commander came up, and I still to this day remember the words he said, and I lived to know those words are true. I asked him, I said, so when are we going to get our chance? Because we hadn't deployed yet, and so first battalion and second battalion had all gone, but I was in third and we hadn't moved yet. And he said, your chance is coming. He said, watch what you wish for. And man, you know, by the time I retired, I'd been over there so many damn times. I was like, so when's it somebody else's turn?
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it did take long, man. By 2003, it was heating up and troops were moving. That's for sure. So, where'd you go to in Iraq?
So I actually went to TQ, Mount
Okay.
Tecadum,
Yep.
over in Western Al-Anbar in
Yep.
2005, 2007, 2008.
Wow.
So
Okay.
actually, my
Yeah.
first deployment, I worked with an Army unit, which was kind of interesting and a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, our definition of fun.
There really isn't that big of a difference between the Army and the Marines. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why we give each other shit so much because compared to all the other branches, we're completely different than the rest of them. The rest of them are more tech uh, based. We're more ground and labor based, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah.
So you go through. When did you get out of the military?
So I actually got out in '09. I was only there for 6 years.
Okay.
You can say that was enough.
Yep. Yep. I hear
But
you, man.
yeah, you do a lot in a small amount of time. And you know this. I don't have to
Yeah.
tell you this, but
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
especially during that time. I came in '94, and it was a 9 to 5 job, man. I mean, there was no.
Hmm.
You went to the field once a quarter, maybe, and I mean, it was literally just a banker's job. And man, from 9/11 on, it changed rapidly. You earned your pay after 9/11, that's for sure.
Really.
Yep. So
Yeah.
you get out of the military, and where does that take you?
Um, so it actually took me all over the place. I ended up getting married and been starting a family in between the two deployments.
Hmm.
And my wife, wonderful woman, she's a nurse. We met in the psych ward.
Okay.
Uh, that's a true story, man. I'm not going to give you all the details, uh, but yeah, man. She's a wonderful woman. She helped me through a lot of stuff, but I ended up when I got out, um, kind of bounced around and ended up going back to school.
Hmm.
Um, my wife actually got sick. I ended up having to go back to work, so I went back to doing security work and went back in the fire service. I was a
Okay.
firefighter. I started in the fire service in 2000 as a junior firefighter and a volunteer. And
Okay.
like I said, I was able to go back to that for a little while. But
Is that what you did in the
yeah,
Marines too? Was you a firefighter in the Marines as well, or?
a type of firefighter, but not with a hose.
Okay. Yep, I get you, man. Those are the best kind of firefighters.
Oh man. No,
That was pretty good.
it just it's just crazy the way like, I'm trying, man. Hey, I'm a comedian, dude.
Well, I don't want to be like those guys that always say, "Oh, you're a comedian. Tell me a joke." You know?
You know what? Thank you for not being that guy, actually, because
Yeah,
it's kind of like, look, I don't come out to the bar and tell you, hey, you're an accountant, start doing my taxes.
yeah,
I
exactly,
mean,
man. I get it. I was a mechanic
yeah,
in the military, so I mean, you say those same words to somebody, and next thing you know, you're talking about the history of all their car problems that they got. And you're like, yeah, this is
yeah,
great. I love it.
yeah.
It's never the fun
But no,
stuff.
it's
It's
weird.
always about the minivan.
Oh God, yeah, right, yeah. I ride motorcycles, so it'd be all about motorcycles, man.
At least that's a good conversation.
Right, right. I'm telling
Yep.
you, man. There's only two kinds of people that like fire trucks, and that's firefighters and little kids. There's only two kinds of people that like bikes, and that's bikers and little kids. So
Yeah. 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 I agree, man.
everybody else tries to run you over.
That is true. I was a truck driver when I got out, and yeah, you seen it all the time, man. People not paying
Yep,
attention and merge right into the people.
yep.
But yeah, so you get out and you become a firefighter, and when do you get to the point where you say, you know what, I'm gonna try to was this always a dream to become a stand-up comedian, or?
It was. I've had a lot of different dreams. I think we all think about the what ifs and how could life be like this. And like I said, I credit my wife a lot with encouraging me to do things. But really, this kind of developed really out of my wife pushing me
Okay.
to go and talk to somebody at the VA and go and seek help for other issues.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, be completely honest with you. Look, I don't particularly like people. I don't like, not that I don't like people. I don't like being around people.
I get it, man. I'm the same way.
And we did some, like I said, we did some various different things and they did exposure therapy and that kind of stuff. But really, it was the last few years. I was talking with, again, in therapy, talking with some people, and they were like, look, you're a funny guy. Everybody's told me my whole life I'm funny. My wife was like, look, you're funny. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, let me try it. I happened to find an open mic here locally, and I was like, all right, let me
Mhm.
give it a shot. And it just kind of clicked. I was like, look, here I am. I can see everybody. I'm up on stage. We're basically having a conversation kind of thing, and
Right.
it didn't feel, all eyes are on you, but it's not that same feeling. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yep.
And then I got some laughs and started working on it, and actually, it's kind of addictive. It really became kind of like a kind of like a drug. I hate to say it,
No, I,
but to get
I I
up
get it.
there and kind of making all new friends. And the way I approach it is kind of like, me and you sitting in the bar, just, shooting the breeze and having a conversation, having a good time. So
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
the hell just happened?
Where's the where's the lava lamp, man?
I just went to hell, apparently. I don't know.
Absolutely.
That was kind of cool, though. That was good timing.
Yeah. I interviewed Sal Gonzalez. He's a country music, and when he first logged on, man, his whole room's purple, like little neon purple lights, and I was like, "Ooh, this is kind of trippy, man." I thought maybe I needed to get some shrooms. But yeah, so you when you first did it not I mean, you had to be nervous the first time you went to
It
open mic.
scared the ever loving crap out of me. I would have rather been back in a firefight.
Yeah,
I would rather been running convoys, doing anything other than that.
I
I
was
mean,
thinking the same
really.
thing, man. I was like,
And I was horrible. And I was horrible. I'm up there. You only get like 5 minutes, and I'm up there trying to tell this story joke thing.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even get to the punchline, and I came off there. And I was like, oh my god, it was so horrible. But you military people, all right, you can't just give up. You can't just go,
Right.
okay, well, I tried it one time and it didn't work. No, we redirect. We adjust fire. We go back. We learn more,
Yep. Yep.
and that's what I did. And it took me a little time. So I've been doing this now um, about 4 years.
Okay.
About the last 2 years, I've actually been on shows and getting paid and really really working and working things out, and things have been progressing at a much quicker rate than I kind of thought they were. Like I said, it did just kind of
Good.
start out as a hobby, and let me just try
Yeah.
this now and then, and it's just a fun time.
Right.
And it looks like maybe I really can do something with this now, so
Yeah,
which would be cool.
yeah, that's awesome, man. You know, I
Yeah.
when I was a kid, everybody they always say, my parents told me you could be anything you wanted to be. Well, I started dating a girl, and I started
I don't
dating
know.
a
Apparently, that's just
girl.
gonna happen randomly.
I guess
Cool.
I guess this is why, once we say something that makes Satan laugh, this is the way he lets us know, man. But
Oh man,
so
yeah, Marines. Yeah, we're the devil's rejects. Yeah.
my dream, after I met this girl and her dad was into training horses, I wanted to be a jockey, and well, in third grade, I was already taller than most. I'm 6'1", 260 pounds now. So that horse
Right.
would have been pissed off if I was ever its jockey. But yeah, so I was thinking, you're absolutely right. I've never seen a soldier say, "Well, shit, I just failed, man. So yeah, let's try something different." They will go back and walk into fire again until they at least feel that they succeeded. And then at that point, it's like if they decide to walk away, it's because it's their decision, not because they couldn't do it. You know, so yeah, I completely get how if the first time it didn't go the way you was expecting, you'd go back and redraw and come back again.
Well, and that's one thing about comedy. Even now, having more experience and I'm not an expert by any means. I always feel like there's something more to learn, a new way to do things. But the thing about comedy is it's very much like combat. It's very much like a fight, or even kind of being in the military where you have to constantly adapt and overcome based on
Right.
you got to read the audience. So if you look at it like that, where the audience is your enemy, you know,
Yeah.
you got to get them back on your side. You're trying to convert them to your side. So it's a constant struggle in between what you say and how they react and the facial expressions, and it's a whole thing. But it's a lot of fun once you kind of get it figured out.
Yeah. Yeah. I listen to my thing is podcasting, and when we first started doing this, just like what you said, we were absolutely horrible. I mean, we were we were trying not to do anything scripted, but man, it was, we didn't want to say the wrong things. And after about the third or fourth time, we said, you know what, fuck this. We're going to just be ourselves. And
Yep.
things got better from there. And we're now on year two of doing it. And I absolutely love it because I meet new veterans, 3 or 4 times a week and learn different things about the fields, their dreams, their goals, and it kind of keeps you in tune with what the veteran community is doing and what they want, because I think that
Yeah.
changes as well as our, I don't know, I don't want to say our politics, but as the things over there changes, the people coming back later have different issues than what we had early in the stages, and different than what the Gulf War had, and than what the Vietnam War, you know,
Yeah.
veterans had. So I like the fact of podcasting, but yeah, I was actually scared to death the first time I did it, and then listening it back, I was like, oh my god, that was horrible. We sounded like a bunch of little
Yep.
robots. So yeah, there's no way I don't think I could ever get on a stage and do what you do. That's for sure. I
I
just
never thought I could,
yeah, I don't think I could, man. I would
but
I would
it's
get
a
up
lot of
there and
fun.
get real nervous. And I don't like big groups either. I'm the same way. And I work in a refinery now, so we have to wear respirators, and to hear the next person talk, we have to get right up into each other's face. And I've had some issues trying to adapt and learn to that as well. But
Yeah.
you know. It's just I don't know, it's just kind of, you're the first comedian that has been on the show, and when I start, so when I try to find people, I go through Facebook and I look for veterans that are doing things, and when I first started, you try to get in groups, and the groups instantly don't want you there because they think you're trying to steal thunder, and it's not about that, it's about just getting to know vets and tightening that community and helping people network. And I don't think that anybody should really be out there looking for glory. It's an army fight. It's a group of people that's not going to win. That's going to win this war. It's not a single individual. But that's how I would find people. And you just don't see a lot of military comedians, or at least on their pages, they don't really announce that that they're military. And it's different in like the music industry. That's like usually I'm a country music veteran, or something. That's usually the second
Yeah.
line that's right there, you know. And then it's always easy to find the veterans, for Veterans Day because everybody changes their profile for 26 hours or whatever.
Yeah, just somebody that you haven't seen in 20 years in a uniform that
Exactly.
they can't fit in anymore. Yeah.
Absolutely. When I got out, man, people would talk to me like this because the buttons on my damn Class A's was about to pop and hit somebody in the eye. I wasn't about to buy new Class A's right before I retired, but I was getting fat. I ain't gonna lie.
Man, I am 6'4". And when I met my wife, I just come back from Iraq. I was 174 pounds
Wow.
at 6'4".
Yeah.
I looked like that.
Yeah.
It was, man, it was,
But that's the
yeah.
way I was
I'm,
when I
I'm,
went in
I'm
the military.
conservatively around 230.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Yeah. Yeah. Well, me too. Yeah. When I first went in. Yeah.
Yeah, I was when I first went in, I was 132 pounds. I boxed when I was in the military. My first fight was a lightweight fight, and my last fight was a light heavyweight fight. So once the military allowed me to get around my wife, I put on some weight.
See, mine was the other way around. My wife put the weight on me.
Yeah, I
Oh man, I was like I said, I was 174 pounds when we met. 3 months later, I was 220, and I'm like, okay, I can't get any more weight. I'll be outside regs. We got to figure something out here.
yeah.
Woman can cook.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Oh
then
yeah.
my last fights was in Germany. So between the German beer and home cooking, and yeah, oh yeah, I put it on quick too.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know. I think too rank comes along with that lines too. As you get more rank, you become less physical and more mental. So
Yeah.
I think that plays a part of it as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So where all have you been performing at? I mean, I've been trying to share some of the stuff that I see on your Facebook, but where I see you guys are getting ready for something
Well,
April
I
1st.
appreciate it. Um, April 1st.
Yeah, I thought I seen something on there. Maybe it was something you shared. Maybe it was somebody else. It looked like a
Oh,
veteran.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. So you're talking about veterans in comedy
Yeah.
and how difficult it is to kind of find veterans in comedy. Friend of mine, Robin Phoenix. She does Operation Hilarious and the Best Medicine Brigade, specifically trying to find veterans who are comedians
Hmm.
to perform and do other things. They're doing a tour and a competition looking for more veterans and military spouses, specifically veterans and military spouses,
Okay.
to perform and learn. And there are actually a lot of resources out there I didn't know about to help develop veterans in the arts.
Really?
There's a program, yeah, there's a program called VME, Victor Mike Echo. It's Veterans in Media and Entertainment. They are out there. It's a, I think there's a one-time fee to sign up with them, but they have a bunch of classes with people from Hollywood, and that's more geared toward acting and production side of the house and doing
Mhm.
things for film and TV. There's a ASAP program. It's the Armed Services Arts Program, which is really where the comedy and the storytelling and those classes come into play. So veterans should absolutely take advantage of that. Um,
That is
Unfortunately, I
hilarious.
didn't really hear about it till
That is hilarious that that's the acronym for it because in the Army, ASAP is
yeah.
Army Substance Abuse Program.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I mean, it's probably the same program. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
We're talking about the entertainment industry here, man. Come on.
Yeah, you're probably right. I sent several people to learn to be comedians in.
Oh
Explains
man.
why they usually
Uh,
their drinking was more when they came back, you know.
oh man. I'll tell you, no, there's so much stuff out there I didn't even realize.
Yeah,
For the longest time, I was more focused on my physical health, my mental health, these other things.
right.
I never thought, oh, I can just go out and do what I want. I can just go out and follow this dream or that dream. Like I'm trying to raise a family. I'm trying to keep my head together. I'm trying to not choke out the person next to me because they're an idiot
Yep.
and they're pissing me off. I mean, I think we can
Yep.
all relate to that better than or not. But
Yep.
but I reached a point, like you were saying with your podcast, you reached a point where, fuck it, man. I reached a point where, like, you know what? I've got to be. The Marine Corps has a phrase, they call it OFP, on fucking program.
Okay.
And it's a really bad thing. I explained it in one of my videos, but it's a bad term. It basically means you're off, you're doing your own thing. In military, we can't do that. We got to work as one team, one fight.
Yep.
We all have to be on the same program, same schedule. Well, in a civilian world, I think that was one of the problems I was having adapting is everywhere you go, everybody's kind of doing their own thing, even if they're kind of even in fire service where we a lot of teamwork there and a lot of brotherhood, but everybody's still kind of out for themselves in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. It
Yep.
was kind of it was weird. I found when I just kind of said, like you said, you know what, fuck it, and I went on my own fucking program, things just kind of started falling into place.
Right.
My wife, my kids are happier, my family life is better. Um, it's not that I'm out there saying, you know what, screw the other guy, I'm just gonna do whatever I want. That's not it. But I'm very much where, you know what, no, this is how I feel, this is what I want to do. And I'm gonna put my time, effort, and energies into things that make me happy and that, you know, can progress me and my family further.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of, that's kind of the way I looked at it with this podcast was, I look at all the things that are out there that when we get put in that same pool as everybody else, let's take podcasting, right? There's currently somewhere around 5 million podcasters in the world, you know. Well, the veteran community makes up 1% of the US population. And then you label that even smaller into how many of those are actually doing podcasts. Man, we're we're the little brown spot of shit surrounded by all the white bird shit, you know. So I was looking at how do you get the veterans word heard? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. How do you put it in front of somebody to get them to listen? And now and I just made a post about this. Now we're competing with things like TikTok and Facebook Reels, where now your average people watching you, if they're not interested within the first 30 seconds, they're scrolling, you
Three
know.
seconds.
Yeah, yeah. It
You
doesn't take
got three
long,
seconds.
and I'm just not willing. I don't think it's healthy for one, for a community like ourselves that is suffering from mental health issues. I don't think it's healthy for us to now take away our attention to detail down to 3 seconds, and after 3 seconds we no longer pay attention. And I think that's a really bad thing for people in general, but really bad for somebody who's trying to put their pieces back together. So, I after thinking about it, I quit doing. Why we were suspended basically for life from TikTok. So I mean, that wasn't an issue with stopping TikTok, but
Oh, I need to hear that story sometime.
yeah, it's stupid. So every time we get banned, every time we get on, we got banned for having illegal activity, and what that consisted of was there was guns in the background. That's that's all it was. People would get on and report us for having guns. The last time was a shotgun that was above our head on the wall. It was just a little Mossberg shockwave. And the guy that used to help me with this, he owned a gun business, so I would help him do some coatings, and we did Cerakoting and hydrographics and gun builds and stuff like that. And that's where the show came from. We spent so much time in his gun room that's what we just called the show. And I didn't think, hell, when we got kicked off the first time, we were joking about how veterans need to start picking their doctors based off of the doctor's finger size. We're now getting to that age to where it's not about their bedside manner, it's about how big is their fingers. And all of a sudden the screen went blank and said, so I thought that's what we got kicked off for. Turned out it was because there was guns in the background. So I guess you can say
Yeah.
anything, just don't say it with guns.
Yeah,
But
I get that. Well, I'm a firearms instructor. I taught a class today. It's one of the other things I do, and that I enjoy teaching and
yeah,
teaching people to be safe. But I get it, and in today's climate, um, I get it. I don't think anyone needs to be said about that.
yeah. And so that's where I came with this podcast. And, we do pretty well on Facebook. People pretty well leave us alone. You get the random trolls, but I mean, other than
Yeah,
that, Facebook has never kicked us off or anything. But that's why I created my own website, and now I'm working on a radio station. My goal has always been to have two two channels, one being music, and I was going to add comedy into that same channel, and the other one for talk radio. And my goal is still to have it up and running by May 1st, but it's been a challenge, man, to try to find veteran singers, that want to participate or have enough music to participate. And the podcasting industry, it's hard to find veterans that don't get wrapped up and once they get a little bit of success, their mentality changes, and it's no longer about helping veterans, it's about protecting my brand. So, but it's growing,
yeah,
and it's just like anything else. It's a grind, and at the end of the day, I hope it becomes successful, because the goal is just to give the veterans a place that they can say whatever they want to say without worrying about being censored or kicked off or anything else. And if as long as you're not out there making terrorist threats, there shouldn't be anybody that can mess with you in
yeah,
regards to what you're saying, whether they like it. They can always go to a different channel.
yeah,
So that's where that came about, was just trying to go down that road. And I think to be honest, I didn't think about it till just now, but comedy kind of falls in that same area. When you're on that stage, that's your show. There's nobody there to. You may get the occasional heckler or something like that, but there's nobody there to change your channel and tell you you can't say what you want to say. You're more protected by free speech because it's considered a joke or considering satire than in the average person is. So,
yeah,
I think in the same characteristic, it kind of makes sense. I never really thought about that, but it does. It makes sense.
yeah. I forget who the quote was by, but they said essentially if you want to tell people the truth, the honest truth, it has to be in the form of a joke. Otherwise, you'll basically get murdered.
Yeah.
And I absolutely think there's truth in that. So, and you look at any of the big national comedians, no matter who they are, listen to what they say. I don't care where you are politically, there is something in there that you can relate to, and that is some truthfulness to life, and kind of makes you go, oh yeah, okay. And I think that's all we strive to do. And there's just different ways to convey that message. We all have different ways that we communicate, and this happens to be mine.
Yeah.
I'm not one of those guys that goes out and sits down and has a serious discussion with somebody. No, if I'm out and around people, I'm always joking. That's kind of it's a
Yeah.
defense. It really is a defense mechanism,
Yeah.
but it's what helps me. And you know, well, why not share it with people? So
Yeah. And it just also happens to be something that I don't think too many people make success in the entertainment business period, whether it be comedy, acting, or whatever, unless you
yep,
were type A personality, which also would go great with Marines and Army, because that's what they were built of, is type A personality. Everything's a
yeah,
challenge, you know, and it's just so competitive, man. I mean, you were constantly fighting for those 3 seconds of attention that you have, and hope the right person sees it.
I'll tell you with social media. So I was never a big social media guy. I mean, I had an account, but I didn't really do anything with it
Right.
until I started doing comedy and talking with my mentors and reading up on it. It's like, dude, the whole world has changed. comedy and entertainment used to be, it was all about who you knew, and you had to, do this for this person, and there's these gatekeepers, and you had to go and meet them and kind of tailor your comedy to what they wanted rather than what you wanted to do or
Mhm.
even what your audience wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Now with social media, I mean, you're going directly to the audience worldwide,
Yeah.
and people either like it or they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just, I think it gives you better feedback, but it's absolutely changed the game. And somebody, even me who hadn't been around that long, um, I'm starting to gain some traction. It didn't take very long of actually being on social media for it to kind of start happening, which
Yeah.
is a little crazy.
Yeah,
But
and let's face it. I mean, even myself, everybody in today's world, we are about self, gratification. You have to have it back, or otherwise you lose interest because there is a wide spectrum of places to go. If I'm not getting it from Twitter, I can go from here, I can go to there, wherever, And I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast, and he was talking the other day about how he was like one of the original podcasters, and he was doing it because it was fun for him. And now that podcasting has gotten so big, the thing that he likes about it is the fact that it has completely bypassed that corporate, just like what you said, the corporate business side of it. There is no more somebody to tell you what to say on your show, who you can have on your show, what you can do on your show, because they're trying to protect the image of their sponsors, and they don't want sponsors to leave. It's now the Joe Rogan show. He can say and do whatever the hell he wants. This is my show. I can say and do whatever the hell I want, and that's why I've always kept my goals. I don't have a goal as far as how many people to reach or how big it gets. It goes where it goes because my goal is just
exactly.
just to talk to people and to have a good time. This isn't how I make a living, so it's not like I have to have the money to survive from this. But I do enjoy it. It puts me around like-minded people, and this is kind of in a way has been a little bit of therapy for myself. I didn't do well talking to VA therapists, and I did see a VA psych, and the drugs work, but I don't really care to go back and sit on a couch and relive the stories that I don't really care to talk about. So this has been, I don't mind talking with veterans because they can relate. And I think that's one reason why I like doing podcasting. Have you ever in any of your bits, do you talk a little bit about Iraq and stuff like that, or do you keep your jokes more related to civilian life?
I tend to do more about civilian life, more about my wife, my kids, riding motorcycles,
Mm-hmm.
just random observations, things like that. I do some military jokes because I mean it's part of who I am,
Right.
um, I know the Marine Corps, I know we're very, rah rah Marine Corps, but I mean it changes you. Same way, Army boot camp,
Yep.
Army life will change you, or Navy or whatever. And so I'll give everybody credit there, Air Force, everybody. There's a
Yeah.
change that happens regardless of your branch.
Right.
Um, and so I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't have the stories I have without those experiences. So I can't cut out that part of my life, and I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there are absolutely aspects of military life and things that I pretty much do not talk about. I really
Right.
don't do any stories about Iraq. If I do, it might be it's there's a couple of good funny stories, and I've talked to people offline, but I haven't worked that out to do it on stage, and I don't know that I really want to.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people understand that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I get it too. Part of the business side of this is you do have to relate to the crowd, and
mm,
there's again the stories before PT. You see the little groups of everybody standing around laughing and telling jokes. That type of humor that is going on in those little interactions is completely different than what the average civilian that's never served in the military is going to
if
get.
I tried to tell some of the things that we used to joke about in the Marine Corps, I would say,
Yeah.
"Oh my God, one of my best friends he's a Vietnam vet. I mean he's old enough he could be my grandfather.
Yeah.
But we try to have lunch at least once a week. Me and my wife, him and his wife. He the man has been through hell and back, and like we were talking earlier, I would never compare my service to his
Right.
or anything. Like I say, I tell people all the time, we as veterans, we stand on the shoulders of giants, those
Yeah.
who came before us,
Yep.
and there's no comparison to what they did. Right. But we're me and him are sitting there, we're trading stories, and he was telling me a story about a particular operation and things that went on, and the I'm not going to get into the subject matter. I don't know who all listens to this. It might be, upset or squeamish.
Hmm.
But we had a big laugh at the end of his story after he's like, yeah, I got him and they weren't a problem anymore.
Yeah.
And our wives are just kind of looking at each other like, yeah, this is what we married. Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
my,
And I'm like,
my
there's no
wife's the
way
same
I could have
way.
that conversation. Yeah. I'm like, there's no way I could have that conversation with anybody other than those people.
Yeah.
You're not going to take that kind of conversation and put it out to a stage or put it out on social media to all these people who have no idea of that life. And the fact that, we face death the way we did. And if you don't face it with a smile and you don't face it with a laugh, then I mean, I really don't think you can be effective
Yeah.
in that environment.
Yeah.
So,
I
like I said,
agree.
and that's another thing.
And I think,
Like that's another thing. It's kind of the inspiration with doing comedy.
yeah, absolutely. And
Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. And sometimes there's a little bit of delay, so it does happen. But so that, when I was talking to that last VA therapist, exactly what you're describing happened, and it was kind of my turning point when I said, this ain't gonna work. I was actually in a good mood, and I told her something that I find funny, and it was one of those military things that I guess you had to be there. And every time I think back about it to myself, I still chuckle. And when I was telling her about it, she was just looking, had that look on her face like, I'm going to start drinking after this. So I learned real quick that we don't see eye to eye, and they can say all day long that you can say whatever you want. Well, I can say whatever I want, but if it's the communication is not going back both ways, and I'm sure it's the same way in comedy. If you can say whatever you want on that stage, but if it's not being reciprocated by the response of the crowd, it's kind of pointless to be there. So,
Yep.
and then you add, like I said, we're 1% of the population of America. So I mean, you take those numbers in smaller groups and you figure if there's 100 people there, one person is a veteran that's going to get your joke. So yeah,
Yep.
I do get that. And but man, but some of the shit that happens in the military is so damn funny.
It is, but a lot of times it's only funny to us
It
because we
is.
understand that life.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I said, my wife was a nurse, and a lot of things she found funny, and I'm just looking at her like, honey, we're trying to eat supper. I don't want to hear about those particular bodily fluids right now.
Yeah.
Then again, me being a military, I really didn't care. That conversation never happened like that. I laughed right along with,
Yeah.
but other
Yep.
people, you know, I get it.
Yeah, I
So,
do too.
and
And
again, which is why I steer away from some of that.
yeah, I don't blame it. So where all if you had to think back of one of the best places that you performed so far, where has been the best crowd or best show that you've done? What stands out?
So right now, like I said, I'm still very, very young in my
Right.
career, and I've pretty much only I've traveled around the state of South Carolina,
Okay.
and that's pretty much it. But really, the best crowds that I've ever had and I've ever performed from have always been at the VFW or the American Legion.
Okay.
And again, going back to what we were just talking about, it really is because I can do more veteran humor that
Yeah.
everybody gets,
Yep.
even with my even with my married life and family life humor. They get it because it's still directly tied to my military service
Yeah.
and other things, and they're just like I said, their headspace is already there,
Yep.
so it's easier for them to understand. I don't have to paint the picture quite as broad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't have to say, okay, now this is why you should have laughed. Here's what the joke was about.
Which and that's the worst thing. So that's the worst thing to do as a comedian. If you have to explain your joke, they say if you have to explain it it's not a good. But occasionally I have worked some smaller audiences, and I've done like breweries and distilleries and there's different bars and some small theaters and things like that. And yeah, when you get those crickets and you kind of have to explain, okay, well, okay, this is a veteran joke, and here's why it's funny. Then they get it, but then you killed it at that point. So it's like, you know what, just move on. There's no
Yep.
point.
Yeah.
Um, and again, that's why depending on the audience, I try to stick to more general life stuff. I can relate it to the military,
Yeah.
because there's certain general aspects that kind of go across everything. But yeah, those veteran crowds, man, that those are my crowds. I like those,
Yeah.
those people. So,
So with some of the interviews I've done several different musicians, right? And I didn't know this was a thing, but I guess all of them do the same thing. They take a shot of some sort of liquor, whether it be bourbon or tequila or something, prior to them performing. I guess that warms up the vocals. Do you do it? Do you have anything? I mean, because I would need a lot more than a shot to get up there and do what you do. That's for damn sure.
let's talk about the top.
There you are. I
Yeah, I
got
think I'm back.
you. Okay. Yep. Ain't no big deal.
I
I can
just
edit it. I can edit it all
I
out.
just re okay. I just realized my internet cut out for a second. Okay. Um, so I don't really like doing shots because I don't like to get too far too fast. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Uh, but comedy is awesome, and it's the top three reasons comedy is great is because you drink while you work, or you
Right.
can. You're
Yep.
allowed to. You don't necessarily not have to. But yeah, no, I absolutely do. I generally do 1 to 2 mixed drinks before I go on stage. I'll have one while I'm up there just to sip on because I get real bad dry throat a lot
Yeah.
anyway, dry mouth, dry throat. Um,
I
and
think that comes
then
from a lot of the meds that we take, to be
the
honest,
set's
because I get it
done.
too.
Yeah, yeah. So like I said, I get done with the set, and then I'm good. Like I said, I go back to water, and then everything's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely have to do several shots. There's no way
I'm
I could do it.
in in the beginning. I almost yeah, I almost had to be like right at that level to be oh, okay. Now I can get on stage, but um, look, I'm still. I'll tell you. I'll be honest with you. I'm still nervous every time I take that stage, no matter who the crowd is, no matter where I'm at. And one of the people I really respect and one of my mentors told me a long time ago, like, look, the moment that you don't have those butterflies when you go on
Mhm.
stage is the moment you need to stop doing comedy, because that should always be there. You should always have that nervous energy. Um,
I mean, I think
and
that's where the
I really kind of
adrenaline
took it
would
on.
kick in, you
It
know?
does, it does, and it makes it. In my opinion, um, I mean, most veterans are pretty quick-witted anyway because you got to be because somebody's always giving you shit and you got to give it right back or you're just going to get run over.
Yep.
So you wouldn't think it, but it lends itself more to the comedy realm, even though, I mean, there's more of a science to it when you start
Yeah.
performing and doing it on stage, and it's different than just, shooting the breeze. But yeah, I think alcohol is definitely a vocal lubricant when
Yeah.
it comes to comedy.
Yep.
But that's also why you can't overdo it.
Yeah, because I may be the only person laughing, but I would still think I had a really good set.
Right.
I
And
know.
you go back and watch it on video and went, I can't believe I just said that. Oh my God.
Yeah. So we used to do Facebook Lives every Friday. It was kind of like just hang out with us and we drank and this is where the two
Mm.
drunk dude name came from. And yeah, there's been some times that we got pretty damn drunk, and there was things when I went back and listened, I was like, I can't believe we're still on Facebook, because we did start opening up and talking about things that we probably shouldn't have been talking about, but I couldn't believe that they didn't ban us from some of the stuff that we were talking about. We had a guest that typed in, "Did you steal the dog?" Because we had a soldier on there who was giving shit about because he always joked about when he went home he was going to put peanut butter on his crotch so his dog would give him some attention because his wife wouldn't, you know. And the neighbor's dog started barking, and um, Doug has asked him. He's like, "What'd you do? Go home and get some peanut butter?" And somebody came in the middle of this, another person, and she typed in, "What are you talking about? Did you steal the dog?" And they banned her. They banned her from Facebook for saying that. The rest of the
Uh,
conversation was good to go, but don't steal the fucking dog.
God,
So, but yeah, so yeah, I do get
that's
it. Alcohol.
those are
But so when uh when you get on done with the set, how does it normally work? Does it like rotate, or you just is that all you get is for like open mic, like the 5 minutes, and then your bit's over, or do they rotate it and you get back up there again later throughout the night, or
so I don't I'm not doing as many open mics as before. So I tell people all the time. So open mic is it's there for it's kind of like going to the gym
okay,
for a comedian. You're there, you're working out new jokes, you're listening to it. A lot of us, we're working on the material. We'll record it and go back and watch it again later and be like, okay, that worked and this didn't, and go back and write it out and work it out and make it sound better and really get to where it should be.
okay,
So as far as typically with open mics, yeah, that's all you get. You get your 5 minutes, which makes it difficult where I'm putting together, I'm doing, 20 and 30-minute sets
yeah,
in a show to only have 5 minutes. So I literally can only take up a couple of jokes,
yeah,
and I may not use the whole 5 minutes, or I maybe, and it really helps with timing. Um, but still, uh, when I go and do when I'm doing my shows and I'm doing, like I said, 15, 20, 30-minute sets, it depends on where you're at. You don't go back up.
yeah.
Same thing with open mic. And once you do your 5 minutes, you're done. Um, but I've been doing more hosting, which is interesting. So with hosting, it's cool. I get up and talk to the crowd and introduce myself, and I can do my set, and then I introduce everybody else, and you get to go up there again in between people. And
Okay,
one of the last shows I was on, they needed a little bit more time before it was ready to come out. So I had already done a 10-minute set, and I did another 5-minute set in between the feature and the headliner. So
okay,
that was kind of cool. I wasn't
yeah,
prepared for it, but it actually worked out really well. So
yeah. I can see.
made me
I
feel
think I,
good, like I'm progressing and I'm getting along with this.
I think I could do something like that. I think I could probably go up and host somebody where I didn't have to stand because now there's a purpose. I don't have to. I'm not the one that's there to make you laugh constantly. You're only going to see me for a few minutes. I'll introduce the next guy and then I'll let them do their thing. Maybe I could probably do that. I don't know about making anybody laugh. That's for damn sure. But I could, uh, I could
Well,
introduce people.
I tell you, so what hosting is actually, in my opinion, is probably the most difficult part of a comedy show.
Really?
So not only are you typically doing some sort of opening, so you're doing some sort of set, particularly if you don't have an opener or if you are the opener. And I've done both. So you give them the house rules, kind of telling kind of because a lot of people haven't seen live comedy. As
Yeah.
much as it's been around, a lot of people that come to these shows at VFW, American Legion, Bar, whatever it is, unless they've gone and seen one of these big name celebrities at a huge amphitheater where nobody's going to see them. The comedian can't see them anyway. They don't know, and they don't know kind of the rules for a smaller venue because it's a lot more intimate. So you lay
Yeah.
all those rules out there, and then you do a few jokes, and the room is completely cold, so a lot of them don't know what to expect, and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah,
So
I didn't think about it like that, but yeah, you're right. People haven't been lubricated yet, so they,
yeah,
they don't get a
and if you screw it up in the beginning, guess what? You got to go back up there two or three more times, and so now it's weighing on your head. Oh man, do they really want to see me again? You just get
yeah.
up there and go, oh, okay, your next person is, let me just get
What
out of here real quick. So
I think you'll notice it because when everybody else is on, there's no line for the bathroom, and then when you go up to introduce the next person, all of a sudden there's people standing outside the door waiting to get.
yeah,
You're like, well, shit. I just fucked this all up. I wonder if that makes it harder for the comedian coming on too. I guess I didn't think about that. If the crowd's like, oh, this is gonna suck. If they already kind of have that mentality before he even comes out.
exactly, and that's why I'm saying the hosting job is one of the most important. Like I said, especially if you're the host and you're the opener,
Mm-hmm.
because that is your job.
Yeah,
You may not get the biggest laughs, and that's okay. You're there to get the audience ready and kind of set the mood for everybody to get ready to
right.
laugh and enjoy these next people coming up. So it's a lot of weight. It can be a lot of weight on your shoulders.
Yeah.
Um, but I
I
mean, I think for all comedians, even a feature and a headline, it's the same thing.
yeah, I can see that. I listened one of the Joe Rogan progress. He was talking about the thing that would piss him off the most is when he would hire somebody to host or open for him, and they're out there and not necessarily saying the exact same jokes as him, but he gets pissed off if they're even using if even if they're joking about the same subjects as him. He's like, "That's my shit. I hired you. I'm paying you, and you're stealing my shit." I
Yeah,
can see how yeah, that would even piss somebody off as well, because now again it affects his show.
it does, and that's a big thing too. And so depending on how well you know the people you're working with, and that's the thing too. And especially when it's somebody that's new in the industry, you don't really know what they're said as. You don't really know a lot about them. At this point, I've got a lot more on Facebook and Instagram. People, the people I work with and people that hire me for their shows, they kind of know what to expect with me. And we may have a couple of things that cross over because look, everybody's going to talk about, about their family or about this. And if I'm working
Right.
with veterans, we're going to talk something about military service. So you can't get pissed off about that. But Joe Rogan, some of you guys, I absolutely get it. I went to a show and big headlining comedian, and he's all whole show is him talking about his family, and of course his two opening acts they didn't do any kind of family work, but they
Yeah.
didn't talk anything about their family, and so I get that, but that's something that should also be addressed up front. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
one of the things we do is crowd work
Hmm.
as comedians, and I love doing crowd work. I love interacting with the crowd and being able to come up with those quick little bits. But there's a lot of headliners out there they want to do that, and they don't want you to interact with the crowd like that. So you kind of have to set those. And that's part of professionalism of it too.
Yeah.
You kind of set those rules and you set those tones up front, and that way you don't step on anybody's toes, and everybody can work together well. So
Yeah. And I think at the smaller venues, like what you're saying, I think that becomes a lot easier because you're more interacting with the other acts, off stage, whatever. You guys are there for the same purpose, and it's a smaller group and more relaxed. I doubt that the people being hired by the big headliners are actually interacting with the headliners behind stage. If it is, it's probably a few minutes. But
yeah,
I could see that, and it becomes easier to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, or whatever, so everybody can adjust fire at that point. So yeah,
yeah.
that makes sense. Man, you talk about comedy, and it's just so different than the little interaction. There's so much to it besides just telling jokes.
There is so much more, and that's what I tell people all the time. There's so much more that goes on behind the scenes. There's so much work. I'm gonna tell you right now, I am constantly, as a comedian, it is 24/7. I'm either coming up with new material, rewriting old material, uh, uh, even if something were to pop off and I'm like, oh man, that's really funny. I'm gonna go write it down real quick, and
Mm-hmm.
I'll go back and work it out later. But you're constantly working, and then maintain a social media presence because again, this is something I would really love to do full time, a regular job income.
Absolutely.
So it's a 24/7 job,
Yeah.
which is a lot like the military, 24/7, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And I think that's another thing too that I don't know if I'm not going to say it's a good or a bad thing, but it seems like people that have PTSD, the one thing that they do is when they do something, they completely surround themselves with it. You know, they there's not much room in our lives for 50 different things. We surround ourselves with that one thing, and we go head at that one thing, and I see it a lot. I mean, I didn't know it when I first got out that that's what I was doing, but I was literally pushing my family away from me, and I had just started a new business, and I opened up a trucking company when I first got out, and man, I was on the road 6 7 weeks at a time trying to make ends meet and constantly trying to figure out the best avenues. And yeah, I mean, you just kind of dig yourself deeper and deeper. But I could see how that also would go good with a veteran type mindset, because we do have that ability to still think focused by surrounding ourselves with that one thing. So yeah, I get it. Constantly on Facebook, trying to promote yourself, trying to get new material. Middle of a big family conversation, all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, I got to go write this down, you know?
Exactly. Well, and that's the one thing I say about my wife and kids are doing great. Like you're saying, jumping into things, feet first and just, or head first rather.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it either until same time going through these programs and talking with other vets and talking with therapists, and they're like, yeah, no, you try to stay busy, you try to keep yourself busy. And
Yeah.
I have surrounded myself with I've done all kinds of different hobbies, man. I've been a blacksmith. I've made stuff. Like I said, I enjoy, teaching, so I do a little teaching. I was a stay-at-home dad for a while, which I really enjoyed. And then my wife had to go and get sick and screw that up. So yeah,
Well, I mean, so
then I had to go get a job.
so let me ask you this: Were you doing how's the comedy thing during COVID? I mean, did were you doing that at that time or?
So I'd actually taken a little bit of a break then. I was doing I was working a job that required a lot of my time, so I wasn't even able to go to open mics, much less try to get on anybody's show.
Yeah,
There was a lot of traveling. At the time, I was working for a contractor, and we were doing a lot of stuff with the military that even though everybody else is shut down, we didn't shut down. The
yeah.
military doesn't shut down. So, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But then I
That's
actually
good.
got hurting at the end of 2022. So I fell off a Abrams tank.
Oh,
That was fun.
damn. For me, the good
Got
thing about
broke
the
for a little
internet,
while.
yeah, I can imagine. It's not they're not short. That's for damn sure. Especially if you were all the way at the top. If you were at the top of the turret, it's probably good. Was it probably
Fell
about
off
15
fell
feet?
off onto the steel deck of a ship.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I could. That wouldn't be good. I've worked around. I was in a mechanized infantry unit. I was on the light side of it, so we had 113s and Bradleys and shit like that. But our sister battalions had the M1. So the one thing I liked about that is at that time we still had the old feathered um, sleeping bags. So when they got wet, man, those Abrams, the exhaust would, man, you'd have a headache for a couple of days, but man, they'd dry a sleeping bag in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
For me, so they were like what, $1.5 million dryers.
No kidding.
How many did we just leave in Afghanistan? I mean, I don't know how many was over there, but
Uh, man, that's a whole can of worms right there.
yeah,
So,
I just shake my head when I think about all the, and I don't know that. I mean, we tried using um, tanks and stuff early in Afghanistan, but I think we learned real quick it just the terrain wasn't going to allow it. So they may not even be
my
coming.
thing about those tanks, man. I'm 6'4".
Mhm.
Okay, ain't one of them tanks designed for anybody over 5 foot and nothing.
Yeah, you're
All right,
right.
I'm telling you.
I mean,
Even the driver's, I realize the driver's seat is the most comfortable. But even that one, I'm like,
yep, yeah, yeah. We had 88s, and 88s were the same way, you know.
oh
And
yeah,
and and the driver's seat wasn't very comfortable with the 88s because the M1 the driver basically laid down, and
yep,
the rest of them you sat. You know, it, yeah, it was not good for tall people. That's for damn
no.
sure.
But 88, you still have more room than the M1.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, we hauled cargo, so I mean, we had areas in the back for tools and equipment and shit like that. So yeah, absolutely. It's just weird, even think about the turret, the gunner. The driver's more comfortable than even him. You would think that's the
Yeah,
guy you'd want to be comfortable.
I don't know. I kind of agree with the driver being comfortable. Like, no, I want you to be comfortable in case we need to leave really fast.
Yeah.
I don't want you cramping up, man. Please don't cramp up.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
If the loader cramps up, you know what? I
I think I lost you again, man.
am my back. Am I back again?
Yep, now you're back. Yep, I can see you now.
Keep dropping out, man. I'm sorry.
That's all right. It's all right. I can edit some of it and get some of it out. I think I lost you again.
Let me see if I can. Oh man, is it already? It is. We already been on here an hour.
Have
Wow.
we? Holy cow.
Yeah.
Well, if you want, man, we can go ahead and call it. The one thing I would like to do is maybe at some point we when things slow down for you, or whatever, we can get together and maybe figure out a way to add some comedians to the radio channel, and veteran comedians, anyways. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know the best way to do it, and so I definitely like some of your guys'
Well,
knowledge.
I've got some, like I said, I've got some things coming up this summer. This is going to be interacting with more veteran communities. There are more veterans in the media and entertainment industry and in the comedy industry than I ever knew.
Yeah,
And like you said, a lot of them don't advertise it. That is one thing that I would like to see change. That's one thing like I said, some friends of mine, they said they're trying to change,
yeah.
and some people I know, and I really enjoy that. I really think that's going to go good places. But yeah, absolutely. Let's stay in touch and let's keep this going. And I don't know if you I don't know if you sent me your your podcast page or radio page, but if you would do that,
Yep.
I mean,
I will. I'll send you,
that'd be
and
great.
I'll also send you all the links for whenever I get the video part of this uploaded, and the audio part. And usually, so the way I do it is I release a new one every Wednesday, and
Okay.
then I stream live the video. So I basically replay the video live on my Facebook page, and then that's when I just sit there, and it's usually done on Friday, and that's when I drink a little bit and just interact and get on the chat, and I just let the video play out. And then after that, then I'll upload the video by itself to YouTube and to Facebook. So I'll send you all the links and everything, man. But yeah, we'll definitely
Yeah.
stay in touch. I appreciate
No, that'd
what
be
you're
great. I
doing
appreciate it,
for
man.
I appreciate what you're doing for veterans and making people laugh, and if nothing else, somebody else out there that has always wanted to pursue that, maybe because of PTSD or whatever, or just sees you do it, and next thing you know, they're trying to do it. So I appreciate you for being the guiding light for that, and taking care of veterans, man.
I appreciate it, man. Like I said, I'm all I'm doing is following other people's footsteps and trying to spread the word. I appreciate you giving this platform to put that out there. So, all
Anytime, man. Hey, you be safe and you have a good night.
right, you too, sir.
All right, bye bye.
Take it easy.